There's plenty to clean up, but the Green Bay Packers are not just the 1 seed right now in the NFC, though they are. They're the best team in the NFC.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, on Google. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The Green Bay Packers are the #1 seed in the NFC, despite the issues, a loss in Cleveland, a tie in Dallas. They're at the top of the standings in the NFC, and as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers showed on Monday night, you are not always what your record says you are. The Green Bay Packers, though, are the best team in the NFC. And I understand people want to say Detroit, they played better the last month, but we don't just get to pick and choose right now. I understand you want to throw out week one. Week one has produced wonky results plenty of times. Nothing fluky about what happened in week one to the Packers when they played the Detroit Lions. They got up for that game. They played their best football. And you have to show that. You have to put that on tape. That game remains the single most impressive game an NFC team has played this season. And the Packers then follow it up by beating the Commanders in impressive fashion, despite playing like a B+ kind of game. And I know that it doesn't look as good in retrospect because the Commanders have fallen apart a little bit. That's been injuries. There's a lot of reasons for it. But that was a big game that the Packers played down some key players. They lose Jaden Reed on the first drive of that game. Zach Tom doesn't play in that game. You're shuffling offensive linemen. Remember, Christian Watson's not back. It's interesting that for all of the talk about the injuries that the Buccaneers have, it's just forgotten that the Packers have also shuffled through a slew of offensive lines, that they have been playing without 2 of their top 3 receivers so far. And everyone's really excited about what Matthew Golden is, but Jaden Reed was their best receiver last year. And Christian Watson has been, at times, their best receiver, certainly is their best man coverage receiver. And yet, in the first 2 weeks, they had no trouble at all beating man coverage. Not no trouble, but they had no significant trouble. They were able to score and move the ball, certainly score enough to win and win comfortably in each of those games. Christian Watson's coming back. Jaden Reed is coming back. Christian Watson might be back as soon as this week. If you look at the advanced numbers, the Packers, the top team in the NFC in net EPA. So you take how much EPA you generate on offense, you blend it with what they're doing on defense. This is the best, most complete team in the NFC. Again, you want to say the Lions? I'll point to week 1. At a certain point, we can't point to week 1 anymore, but we saw the game. Like, Lions fans, they were sure happy about an early season game against the Packers where they bludgeoned the Packers on Thursday night. Guess what? It didn't matter on Thanksgiving later in the year. But at a certain point, that game is going to hold less value. The Packers are going to have to move forward here, and they're going to have opportunities. This is still a Steelers team with a good record, though I don't think the Steelers team is anything to write home about. I think this defense is still, frankly, pretty bad. I think this Packers offense is going to play well, but you have to play well. You have to play better. And we're going to talk about the defense and some of the reasons why I think they can play better. This is the best team in the NFC, and they haven't played their most consistent football over the last month. They have found ways to win these games. They didn't dominate the Cincinnati Bengals, but they comfortably beat the Cincinnati Bengals. That game was never really in doubt. That looks much better right now. And I said this on the squad show forcibly, and I will repeat part of it. I don't want to do the whole monologue again. You can go listen to it on the squad show. I was on my soapbox for that one. But what I said was Baker Mayfield was being lauded as an MVP candidate, and I think in some ways rightfully so, for all of these late wins, the come from behind wins. But they did it against the Falcons, by the way, in a game where the Falcons missed the game-tying field goal, a 44-yard field goal. That kicker does not play for Atlanta anymore. They beat up some bad teams. They had to come from behind to beat the Jets. That was really a come from ahead late win because they gave up a big lead. Yeah, some weird stuff happened, but they still had to do it to beat the worst team in the NFL. A backup laden 49ers team, backup quarterback, no receivers. Kendrick Bourne had 140 yards in that game. So those teams are not great. I know what the 49ers record is, but I watched the games. It's not a great team. And by the way, I watched that team beat the Rams that everyone thinks is so great. I watched the Rams play pretty up and down here too. I don't know how you can watch the Eagles and think they're anything special right now. The best version of the Packers is still the best team in the NFC, and we have seen that version. We're not extrapolating. We have seen this version of the team, and I said this a couple weeks ago. I said this is still the best team in the NFC. Nothing I have seen from the rest of the NFC is going to change my mind on that. And we saw the Lions. You want to say the Lions? They just beat a semi-fraudulent Buccaneers team. We saw them get worked by the Kansas City Chiefs. The two best teams the Lions have played beat the crap out of them. So don't use confirmed priors to try and make your case on this. And don't, if we're going to, with someone like Baker Mayfield, with a team like the Bucs, don't prop the Bucs up because they beat a lot of meh teams in close games and say, oh, Baker, clutch, and then elide what Jordan Love did at the end of the Cardinals game, marching them right down the field and getting the game-winning touchdown. That can't just be hand-waved if it's going to make Baker Mayfield an MVP candidate. Same thing. They beat the Seahawks. They had some good wins on their resume too. They beat up that 49ers team, but it's still a banged up 49ers team. You did what you're supposed to do against that team. Jordan Love did the same thing. Don't pretend like it counts less. And by the way, backup quarterback, speaking of backup quarterbacks, yes, Mac Jones has looked really good for the 49ers. Jacoby Brissett has looked way better than Kyler Murray for the Cardinals. And the Colts, who are maybe the best team in the AFC, they had to scrap and claw and fight against that same Cardinals team. There isn't a player in the NFC defensively who can do what Micah Parsons did on Sunday. He looked like, Tyler Dunn said this as well. I saw him tweet this out. He looked like the best player in the NFL on Sunday. 10 pressures, 3 sacks, 4 TFLs. I think he had 5 QB hits. He wrecked that game and had some bad plays too. We're going to talk about the defense. But the issues with the defense are self-inflicted, much like all the issues with this team. That continues to be true, which means this is not a talent problem for the Packers. And just because that's the case doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that. They were the best team in 2021 as well. Self-inflicted wounds got them in the end. A bad matchup in the first playoff game that they played in the divisional round got them. That could still happen. But the best team in the NFC plays in Green Bay. And I said a week ago, 10 days ago actually, on Monday, everyone is going to remember that the best team in the NFC plays in Green Bay. They beat the Bengals. The Lions lose. And it was like, oh yeah, that's right. And guess what happened? The Packers once again became the betting favorites in the NFC. Well, guess what happened? The Packers won. The Lions beat the team that had the best record. The Packers are now the 1 seed in the NFC and continue to have the shortest odds in the NFC to win and to win the Super Bowl. That makes them the best team in the NFC right now. Defensively, they have some things to clean up. Xavier McKinney said as much. But it is there for them. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Packers.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. With all-wheel drive standard in every SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like NFL players, Mazda sweats every detail. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. The defensive miscues, the penalties, the busted coverages. These are the problems that the Packers face right now. It is not a talent issue. Yes, Nate Hobbs was a problem in a couple one-on-one situations on Sunday. Matt LaFleur did not sound like a coach who was ready to take that starting job. He played 100% of snaps. 100%. Played every snap. This was not like, hey, we're gonna see. No. He's the starter. He is the starter on the edge, and I don't expect that to change this week. And maybe he just needs a little bit of time. This game was not competitive because of Nate Hobbs. It was competitive because the defense made a bunch of self-inflicted errors. Don't believe me? Ask Xavier McKinney.
I still think that, these are the type of games, in my opinion, where, we gotta play better, man. To be honest, in my opinion, I don't think really, it should even come down to the fourth quarter. I think we have a better team, and I don't think we played really up to our standard as much. But like I said, we'll get back to the film room and try to find ways to be better. But we for damn sure can't do this against good teams because it's not going to work. So I think the guys know that. And, we're happy about the win, but we got to be a lot better.
Go back to the touchdowns. Trey McBride had 2 of them. I don't know how you let the only weapon that the other team has run free twice in the red zone. But on the first touchdown at the end of the half, you watch it. On either side, the corners and the safeties are having to pass off routes because they are in a zone coverage. Keyshawn Nixon carries his guy too far inside when he's got safety help there. And rather than passing him off and then getting back to his responsibility, he's late getting back. Trey McBride is there, open. That stuff cannot happen. Watch the top, Nate Hobbs and the top safety, they handle it. They pass that off. It's covered to the top of the field. This is like day one stuff. You in zone coverage, and the Packers play primarily zone. They're playing 80% zone coverage. You just have to have those sorts of details buttoned up. On the second Trey McBride touchdown, you are in, again, a zone coverage, a quarters coverage. And Quay Walker carries a vertical route when Trey McBride is coming across the field. There is no reason when you have the safety capping that route for you to carry that route. There's just no reason for that to happen. You have to be there. And if Quay Walker just does his job, sure, maybe you throw it, maybe you complete it, but it's not a touchdown. Same thing. If Keyshawn Nixon just does his job, Mr. Watch Film, okay, on film, That route needs to be passed off, and it's not, and it's a touchdown. That's a 4-point swing. That's a huge difference. And in fact, you can tie Packers errors directly to every score for the Arizona Cardinals. A roughing the passer ends up leading to a Cardinals field goal. Micah Parsons, a hip drop tackle on a sack. On a sack. The drive is over, a 3rd and long sack. That turns into a field goal. That's points that you are putting on the board that would have been, like, we're not talking about, a penalty and 6 plays later they drive down. No. The drive is over. It's over. And you're putting points on the board. The Packers are offside. Jacoby Brissett gets a free play. Matt LaFleur talked about this. This was a free play. Matt LaFleur believed Jacoby Brissett knew he had the offside. And so then he gets the opportunity there. He throws an incomplete pass. But LaFleur thinks he knew he had a free play. Well, you can't give a team a free play, and that turns into the touchdown that you blow the coverage on. A holding call on another Cardinals field goal drive extends a drive. You have pass interference on a 3rd down. These sorts of things just cannot happen, and they are self-inflicted. Like, you want to say, okay, like DPI, okay, that's going to happen. That's a physical mistake. Offside, that's a mental mistake. Coverage busts, those are mental mistakes. Roughing the passer, I'm going to put that in the mental mistake area because they hit Jacoby Brissett 2-handed in the face, Quay Walker. For as good as Quay Walker was, he had 5 pressures on 8 pass rushes. You can't hit Jacoby Brissett with both hands in the face. That's a mental error. Now that's a playing hard mental error, but you just can't make those mistakes. Again, those are self-inflicted errors. It's not, oh, the team isn't talented enough. Oh, they have these deficiencies in these. No, that's not the problem. The problem is they need to play more disciplined, and they did against the Lions. They did against the Browns and the Commanders, and for a half against the Cowboys. And I will continue to tell you that there were a lot more of Dak just being fully dialed against the Cowboys, especially in the second half. But there were also issues with the coverage as well. And that includes Xavier McKinney, who I thought on the touchdown where it looked like Nate Hobbs got beat, that's supposed to be, at least the way that I understand defense, I thought that play was on Xavier McKinney. I talked to a league source who I shared the tape with, and they agreed. You never know what's happening on the field, and I always want to add that caveat. You never know what's being coached and how they're being asked to play certain things. Xavier McKinney's a great player. That touchdown looked like it was on him. You can't be a primary zone coverage team and not have this stuff buttoned up. You just can't. Now, again, we've seen them play at an extremely high level. To have these game plans, and we saw them last year with a worse secondary and a worse pass rush. Cover the hell out of Philly. And I still think this team is an awesome matchup for the Eagles. I think this team is better equipped this year, even without Micah Parsons, to beat the Eagles. And then you add Micah Parsons. Like, this team, the way that they play, the way that they want to attack you, I think they can give this Eagles offense a lot of problems precisely because the Eagles cannot run the ball the way that they did last year. That was a huge part of their success against Green Bay, such that they had it, and they didn't have a ton of it in the playoff game especially. Packers tried to play some man coverage against the Eagles, and they got burned. I don't think they're going to do that. We didn't see them do it in the second half, or in the second game. And Jeff Hafley's a really good coach. I expect them to get this stuff cleaned up. And we know that they have a player. They have a defensive player that can just win you a game by himself. And look around the NFC. This is why I said this at the top. This is why I framed it this way. How many teams in the NFC have a defensive player who can win them a game by themselves? Look at the contenders. Do the Lions have a player like that? Aiden Hutchinson, maybe. The Packers totally stymied him in week 1. I don't think the Eagles do right now. Their secondary is banged up. Their secondary looks like it's a problem for them, in fact. But they don't have Micah Parsons. Jalen Carter is a really good player. He can wreck a game. Can he take over a game like Parsons? I don't think so. The Rams don't have that guy. The 49ers lost the 2 guys who could do that. The Buccaneers don't have that player. The Falcons don't have that player. The Packers do. The Packers do. And so when you have a Micah Parsons, that gives you more margin for error if you are not going to play to your full abilities. But we've seen this team play to their full abilities. To blank a really, really good team in Detroit. To suffocate a Commander's offense we've also seen be explosive. And that was when Jaden Daniels was healthy. That was when their receivers were healthy. This is a team that if they play to their best, I don't think there is a team in the NFL whose top gear, whose top potential is better than Green Bay's, unless Patrick Mahomes just goes absolutely nuclear in a Super Bowl. And if that happens, he's one of the best to ever do it. You got to tip your cap. That's it. Doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl. Doesn't mean they're going to even win a playoff game. I'm just telling you, the best version of this Packers team, their problems are fixable. They don't need to trade for a corner or all hope is lost. That's not where this team is. You got to get Devontae Wyatt healthy. That would help. Then all of a sudden you're magnifying the impact that Micah Parsons can have. You're magnifying Carl Brooks being a nice secondary pass rusher. And Lucas Van Ness is not healthy. Doesn't sound like he's going to play this week. You're magnifying the impacts that those guys can have. This is fixable for Green Bay. Maybe this is the week that they start fixing it. All right. The kicker question. I wanted to talk about this just as another way to talk about Lucas Haversek and the game that he had on Sunday, because I don't think we can ignore this story. And then there's some interesting questions that this raises. We'll talk about it next. The NFL season is here and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Put down $5 and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Like you could bet on, say, the Packers minus 3.5 in Pittsburgh. The Packers giving 3.5 in Pittsburgh. They're almost 2-1 on the money line, minus 176. The total, 44.5. So you bet the over. I would bet the over. I would bet the over. I think the Packers are going to score 30 points in this game. And whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. How about the Packers money line plus the over? Ooh, I like that. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Lucas Haversek was going to be a substitute teacher if he had not found a kicking job in the NFL. And he comes to the Packers. And all he's done is make kicks. The big kick last week against the Bengals to seal it. Makes a 61-yarder that just fundamentally changes the game against the Cardinals. Makes a couple other kicks. I think they've made 10 straight kicks since he's come in. If we're going to complain about Rich Bisaccia when it's a problem, you have to credit him. You have to credit this scouting staff for bringing him in. And now it's like, what? Do you want to just kick him to the curb? Like, is it just over? Like, is Brandon McManus, when he's healthy, just going to be the guy? Could Brandon McManus have made that 61-yarder? I think maybe. But Brandon McManus is an older kicker. And these guys can do it forever. But, like, is that the best route? Brandon McManus, 34? Like, he could probably kick till he's 40. He probably has 4 more years. How much do you care? when this team is trying to win a Super Bowl right now today. Lucas Havlicek's 26 years old. But you could have Lucas Havlicek for the next decade. I don't think this is a ridiculous question to be asking. I would like the Vikings have soft benched a first round quarterback because he wasn't playing great. And Carson Wentz was the solution. The Packers have a much better solution. Now, Brandon McManus was not a problem. He also just got paid. Is there a contract and trade? I mean, we have to dig into the rules of that. I would be hard pressed to want to move on from a kicker you just saw kick a 61-yard field goal, who has just walked right in off the street and been spectacular for you. And I mean, every kick right down the middle, right down Broadway. These are not like sneaking in. Brandon McManus has kicked a couple you're like, ugh, and he's missed some, right? I'm just saying there is a conversation to be had here. And, I'm not advocating anyone be shady with the rules, but Brandon McManus is hurt. What if you just put him on IR? Give Havlicek another month. Just let him see. You 4 games. You see what you got. And if he misses some kicks, no problem. You have McManus that you can just bring right off. Now, is that going to piss Brandon McManus off? Is that, these are actual people. This is not Madden. So those are real concerns that you have to think about. But there's at least a conversation as to what you do. Now, this is also not your franchise quarterback. Like, you don't have to think about some monster contract. You don't have to think about the future of your franchise, that if you get this decision wrong, your team is set back 5 years. Now, the Packers, since Mason Crosby, have had some issues finding kickers. That's true. And there's kicker issues around the league. There hadn't been 32 kickers, one for every team over the course of this season. The Packers somehow have 2. It seems like an advantage you would like to, push here. But you can't roster 2 either. It's just not tenable. Now, maybe you can, maybe you do, until, Jaden Reed comes back or something like that. This might have been the window, though. Christian Watson, you're going to need a roster spot. Now, they've just been signing practice squad, calling him up. If I'm another team, I'm trying to get him. I'm calling him and I'm saying, hey, come be our kicker. So this might be moot by the time you hear this episode. Teams are constantly trying to snipe off practice squads. If I'm the Giants, why would I not be calling him? Right? I don't know what the answer is here. My guess is they're going to do nothing. McManus, when he's ready to go, is going to be back. So this is tricky. Do you trust Rich Bisaccia to make the right call? I don't know. Matt LaFleur was asked about this. He said, that's a hell of a question. Didn't give us anything more than that. Really didn't give us anything more than that. So look, they've had 2 kickers on the roster for the past couple of weeks. He's been on the roster. If they want to get him back on the practice squad, they got to cut him. My guess is someone else would get him. So he's on the Packers right now. I had to make sure. I had to make sure this was right. They're both on the roster. If you want to get him on the practice squad, you got to cut him and he's got to be there. My guess is someone else is going to grab him. So what do you do? The answer is probably they're just going to cut him. And McManus is going to be your kicker moving forward. And you paid him, and so you're comfortable with that. And I think you live with whatever the outcome is there. But we could not go any more time and not discuss what this guy did. And the Packers just signed Brandon McManus to an extension. And this is already a conversation worth having because of how well he's kicked. He set the franchise record. He's a young kicker. Could you develop him into a kicker who's going to be a weapon for you? Like, and I don't mean just a good kicker. I mean a weapon for you. There are very few. There's Brandon Aubrey. Like, there aren't that many other guys who are in that class. I'm not saying Lucas Haversek is in that class. I'm saying you might have a player who could develop into someone who's in that class. We don't usually think about developing kickers, but that is a thing that, the Packers, they did it with Ryan Longwell. They did it with Mason Crosby. They were patient with Mason Crosby. That paid off. You look at the record for all the longest kicks in Packers history. Mason Crosby's name's on that list like 20 times. I'd love to know what Mason thinks. The Packers certainly have not shown that they're going to get the special teams questions right. So are they going to make the right call? I guess we'll see. All right, back tomorrow. Lily Zhao for Zhao You Doing. Chris Carter, not that Chris Carter, Locked On Steelers host Chris Carter is going to be here on Thursday. So a ton more to get to this week. Follow me on the social medias. Follow the podcast on the social medias. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube. We'll be live this week with a squad show. Live after the game. Sunday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay Packers. Holy cow. So you can stay Locked On Packers.